Yasmin, you want to finish your food?
Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. So my name is Dami Shoyoye and you might notice that things are a little bit different. So today we're going to talk about a hot but interesting topic and somewhat controversial. We're going to talk about situationships and entanglements. So I've got three of my friends joining me today. So they're going to give their life stories, they're going to give us advice, but they're also going to challenge us as well on some of our mindsets. So thank you so much, girls, for joining me here today. I really appreciate it. So if you could just go around and just introduce yourselves very briefly, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay, my name's Mobola. I am in my late 20s, if I can say that, and I'm single at the moment.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mobola.
And my name is Mayowa. I'm also in my late 20s. I'm not single. I'm married with a 1-year-old.
Oh, thank you.
My name's Yasmin. I'm also single, and we're all the same age, so I'm also
Okay, cool. Thanks, yes. Okay, so what do you say?
Excited to be here today.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited for the episode too.
Same.
Cool. Okay, so you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the first question of today is who has actually been in a situationship or an entanglement? Don't all rush at once.
Right before this, I was asking what is the difference between the two. Situationships, I get, I'm well versed in, but an entanglement, what is that? And what's the difference?
Okay. Does anyone know what the difference is between the two?
So Dami said that an entanglement is apparently between married people, but I just thought it was between any couple, and it was just a complicated relationship. And I don't know why I thought, the word entanglement, like when something's tangled, it's difficult to like get out or like detangle.
Get out of.
Get out of, exactly. So I just had that feeling in my head that entanglement is something that's hard to get out of, and I don't know. Yeah, it just sounds complicated to me.
Okay, cool. Yes?
I don't know. I think, in my opinion, entanglement's just a word that's been concocted to explain infidelity. Obviously, that's a term that's come out in the last couple of weeks. Someone who's clearly married and in a committed relationship, they decided to part ways or take a break or whatever, and she was romantically involved with somebody else and just threw a name on it. Hopefully it is not a term that is going to stick in society as an explanation for stepping out or whatever the situation was between those two.
But was it her actual stepping out, or was it what she had when she stepped out? If that makes sense.
I don't know. My impression was that they were having difficulties in their marriage. They decided to take a break. According to them, it could possibly have been over. But however, they were still married. And then a relationship was had with somebody else. But you're still married, technically. You don't have the agreement, or you haven't had a discussion with your partner about this. So it's something that you've made a decision on by yourself. Despite being in a relationship legally. So
okay, so entanglement is just for married people, or is it just it's for everyone? Or
I think everyone can be in an entanglement.
But then how's it different from a situationship then?
I think situationship, for me, I feel like there is like, hopefully there's a progression towards something more committed, like a proper relationship, or further down the line, marriage. Whereas an entanglement, no one's really going anywhere. Everything's just static, and you're in the same kind of stage, I feel like. I don't know, because I don't know what. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, I would define a situationship like that. A situationship is like, it's not, you can almost say courting is when you're progressing towards something. But when you're just in a situation that you can't name, you don't understand it, you don't know what it is, you can't take them home to your parents, that's a situation.
Yeah,
that is true.
I would agree. I think situationship is kind of when you're in limbo. So you might get all the benefits of dating or courting someone, i.e. you're seeing them exclusively, you're investing time in them, emotion, you're building an attachment. You could be seeing and dating them every single weekend, speaking to them every single day, but you still have that awkwardness of, well, what are we? Because there's no identification as to, are we a couple? Are we just together unofficially? Like, and then you find out, I think the definition of the situationship is when you find out actually one person thinks it's going somewhere, maybe towards a committed relationship, and the other is just happy reaping the benefits of having you exclusively and not having to commit or label it as such.
But then how do people find themselves there though? Is that case you just wake up and you're like, I guess I'm in a situationship? Or was it like progressively you entered that stage? Or
I don't think anyone intends to be in a situationship. I think everyone, let's say, for example, when you go on a first date with someone, hopefully you're thinking, if you like the person and you think the person likes you, that it will progress to something further. But then I think both of you have to come to the decision. One of you can say that I want to be in a relationship, and the other person can say, oh, I'm still not ready. And you're still kind of going through the motions, and you don't even realize you're in that situationship because you're still waiting for them to become ready, but they're still taking their time, and you're still hoping that, something will come of this and they'll actually commit, and then they're just like, actually, I don't know if I really want to commit, or you know what I mean.
Okay. So then how do you get out of it then? Or what were you gonna say, Yas?
I would agree with that description as well. I don't think anyone enters one intentionally. You have, obviously, each party has their intentions for where they want to see this going, but it's without that fluid communication, I guess, or when you try to bring up those topics, it's evaded, and then a delay tactic comes in until, I guess, one party gets to the point of, you either stay in it, a lot of people will just stay in it and make do, or you get up and leave and say, okay, well, this isn't what I signed up for, this wasn't my vision when I started dating you, I'm not getting what I want out of this, so I'm a bounce.
I agree.
Bye.
I think it could be like two-sided. I think on one hand, yes, I agree with both of you that you could enter it like, okay, I want more, but then maybe the other party isn't on the same page. But then I think some people also could enter a relationship like, oh, we're just friends, or oh, I don't think it should go anywhere, or I don't even friends with benefits. Like, there's so many other things that people think they're starting a relationship as, and then halfway through they're just like, actually, whoa, when did we get here? Like, what happened, kind of thing. So
I just don't understand them, because I think it's sensible to obviously have the conversation at the start. So if somebody's been asking me for my number, my first question is, why do you need it? Like, what's the purpose behind this? You know,
that assumes you don't know the person. What if it's a friend? What if it's someone you went to uni with? You guys are always...
I've had people ask me out to dinner or saying, oh, let's hang out. And I'll say to them straight up, either after like the first date or meet up has finished, I'll say, so what is this, dates or mates? I feel like that needs to be clarified straight away, because so many people are just happy coasting. And then that's how you set the premise for not knowing where you stand, because the conversation hasn't been had or the precedence hasn't been set from the very get-go, in terms of, because then they're forced to answer like, okay, well, at the moment we're mates, but I'm attracted to you, or no, my intention's to date, or I'm looking for a partner. But do
you think like some guys, when they're put on the spot like that, they'll just kind of say something to make you feel like happy, if you know what I mean, because they don't want to be awkward, especially if it's the first time meeting you. They don't want to, I don't know, because do you know how it might seem if a guy's like, I'm not really too sure about you, kind of thing.
Because a lot of guys have said that girls don't want to hear the truth, that they are willing to tell the truth, but girls are not ready to hear it. So a lot of times they will tell the girl, I'm not ready for a relationship. But the girl hears something else, and she's like, okay, within time, I can sort of like change his mind. So the guy said one thing, but we as girls, me included, we hear something else.
Yeah.
I have a friend, a male friend, who told me that he went on a date with someone. He liked her. Well, he didn't know her well enough, but he liked what he'd seen so far. Asked her on a date. He's very forward. He was always ready to settle down, but he was just meeting her. He was just getting to know her. They spoke. I had a couple of phone conversations, and they went on one date. And at the end of that date, no, in the middle of the date, he said he was just cutting into his steak, and she's just like, "Okay, so where is this going?" And he was like, he almost choked on his steak. He was just like, can we at least finish our first meal?
Can I swallow?
So that threw him off. And after that, he didn't give her the same chance he would have. Maybe because he felt like it was too much pressure from the get-go. And even if he had no bad intentions, he wasn't in that frame of mind. Like, he wasn't there yet.
I don't think that needs to be asked if it's a stranger to you or someone you're just meeting, because the intention probably is to date you, to get to know you, to obviously see if there's a connection. I only think clarification needs to be if the person's already in your life, because I don't check if it's mates or dates. If you're somebody I already talked to or I'm familiar with or we have a mutual, but all of a sudden you want to go out for dinner, then that's suggesting a change in dynamics, because you and I don't usually go out for dinner. So then clarification, I would say, well, it's a dates or mates. But if it's just somebody off the cuff, obviously they're trying to date you. What about looking at you makes them think, yeah, I want to be friends with you? Nothing. It's probably physical attractions. I could make that assumption. So
So do you think sometimes we're too quick to, like, I don't know, I'm just thinking, sometimes are we too quick to ask that question? Or does it put them off? Because I've been in a situation before, but I was like,
when do I ask the question? Like,
I mean,
relationship, DTR.
Yeah. I think after a month or two, that question needs to be brought up.
I think maybe not even just time, because I feel like it depends, because like uni days you see someone every day, so that a week can look different a week. But nowadays, like in a month you might have only seen twice, like, or to be fair, you probably talk more often. So I don't know, but I feel like in hindsight what I've learned, like from my previous relationships, is like I don't want to be so quick to get someone to commit to me when I'm not sure if they're worth me even committing to as well, if that makes sense. So it's just like, yes, I want to know your intentions, but are you good enough for me? Like, what are your goals?
How do you know if they're good enough for you?
$1 billion question. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to use my husband since actually, no, dating generally, I feel like you never know. I feel like just literally follow your instincts. If something feels off, you're probably right. If nothing feels off, still look. Doesn't mean you're right, but if nothing feels off, still keep looking, ask questions, like experience different things, different situations. I feel like the more data you have, so to speak, the easier it is to like make that kind of decision. And then, so are we still talking about, let me say situationship, don't worry. Let's not get deep on talk about husband yet.
We'll come to that.
But yeah, I think just ask more questions and just like literally explore more is what I would say. And then if you feel like you are falling deep, or you feel like you want to progress and you don't, then I feel like have that conversation, but maybe not want to progress too quickly. Because like once you get into a situation, it's hard to get out of it, even when you know the person's bad for you. Even though your brain is saying one thing, your heart, your mind, everything else is saying something different. I feel like just being more careful with the people you open your heart to, I guess.
That's true. There's a quote I want to read, and I want you to tell me if this is true or false. So someone said, if you find yourself in a situationship, you need to get your self-esteem in order. So when I heard that, I was like, whoa, that's harsh. But basically, they're equating, if you're in a situationship, it shows your self-worth or your value, that you don't really think highly of yourself if you're in a situationship. Do you think that's true, or do you think it's false?
I think there's an element of truth in it. I think, especially further down the line, if a guy is not committing to you, and there may be different reasons as to why he doesn't want to, but if you can't have the discussion and know your worth and say, okay, fine, if you're not ready for this relationship, I'll move on, because there'll be others. I think sometimes we have to question how we see ourselves, and as are we using that person that we're in a situationship as like our only hope or our only option, when in reality that's not the truth. There are many options by God's grace. So it's not about hanging on to that one person because you feel like that's the only chance you have.
Yeah.
Yes,
I agree with that.
That's well put. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. And it's more a case of, it probably reflects on your self-esteem if you're willing to stay in that situation and it doesn't make you happy. So some people will remain in that situation, but it doesn't mean they're unhappy in that situation. But if it makes you unhappy and you're prepared to stay, that's when you need to start looking at self-reflection, because why are you intentionally keeping yourself in a situation where it's been clarified you are not going to get what you want, or it's not going how you want it to go? Then it's about looking at yourself and thinking, what is making me stay here? Is it like what Mobola said in terms of, do I think I have no other options? What value do I place on myself in terms of, it's not even about having other options in terms of being on your own, because there's no embarrassment or shame in stepping away from a situation to be single. So
I like to play both sides. I agree with both of you. However, I feel like it's not always that black and white. And I think you could even say that there are different levels of situationship. There's like outright like abusive, like listen, like
that's toxic.
Toxic. They're completely toxic. I think all of them are toxic ultimately. But yeah, there's obviously overtly abusive toxic. Then I feel like also, especially when there's history, it's not that simple. Okay, so a situationship that comes to mind came after a 3-year relationship. No, a 4-year relationship. Then we broke up, and then suddenly we're still seeing each other. It was like, today we're not, tomorrow we are. And then I felt like for another 2 years we were in a situationship. So for me, I feel like it was more so like, I have history. He knows this. Like, even I'd go out on dates and call him, oh, listen, this is what happened on my date today. So I feel like it's not always that black and white, especially if the person isn't a bad person. And I think also you start to justify certain things. Oh, he didn't mean that. Oh, that's not why. Okay, this happened. Okay, maybe if this wasn't this way, then that would be. Like, you start to justify so many things in your mind. So, and then the lines then become very blurred. But then I guess, like what Yasmin said, I feel like for me, getting out of that was me taking a step back and truly looking at myself and what would make me happy. And I really started focusing on myself. And then suddenly it just kind of got easier. I would backslide from time to time. I'd call him randomly. But I think, I wouldn't at the time say it was low self-esteem, but I didn't prioritize myself enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note there that you were dating other people. So I look at situationships where you close yourself off to others.
I was dating other people, but not really. It wasn't a date and then goes back home to school. Like, hey, oh,
you're dating for sure.
Exactly. I was dating to distract myself.
Distract. And you know what you said was so true, actually. When the person's nice and they genuinely are a nice person, it's so difficult to think that they're treating you in a certain way, and it's more difficult to even come out of it, because sometimes you think, but this person's so nice, maybe they don't mean that in that way, or maybe if I speak to them again, or maybe this, maybe that. You're making so many excuses for them, but essentially they just don't want to commit.
Yeah, and I think also it's selfishness as well. So even if they know, but they don't want to let go, they don't want to let go of certain comforts or certain things that they're used to. So it's selfishness on their part. So I guess coming back to your original question, yes, it is about yours. I don't want to use the word self-esteem because I feel like that's very, very, very negative in one direction. But it is about you not being as selfish as the other person, I guess.
But the thing is, we've raised so many like negative things about situationships, and I know a lot of us have things like red flags. So kind of like, why is it when these things happen, we don't identify them as red flags? We just think they're like pink flags, I guess, or we don't take caution to it.
I think it depends how attached you are to the situation. A lot of people, you want to give that person the benefit of the doubt because you want to stay with them. Give them a chance to prove themselves, or give them a second chance, and yourself as well, making sure that you haven't made the right decision, or am I being too rash? Because at the end of the day, no human is perfect. So things might flag up. And I think it's important to just note that mentally. But it's more a case of, if it's a reoccurring flag and if it's a detriment to your well-being, that's when it's a red flag and you need to step away, because some people can act out, or, as I said, we're all human. We're not all pretty and butterflies 24/7. Do you know what I mean? So it's about the balance of, okay, they're having a bad day, or they're a bit moody today, they're not showing their best self today, but is that who they are to me most of the time?
Yeah. I think when you really like someone, before I used to think that if I see a red flag in someone, I'm just gonna be like, no, I'm just gonna leave them. But actually, when I've realized, when I really like someone, all those red flags are coming up in my mind, and they're telling me they're like this, they're telling me they're like that, but it's just as if I can't hear what they're saying. I'm like, no, it's okay, it's fine, we'll deal with that. Maybe you'll change. But at the end of the day, they're not always going to change, or sometimes they don't want to change, or they don't feel like they have to change. And it's true, they don't have to change for you. And if you guys are not compatible, then move on to someone that you are compatible with. But yeah, I think it's difficult when you really like the person.
You just reminded me of something, like with red flags. I feel like it's important to have like a council of advisors. So whether it's your immediate friends, whether it's your auntie, uncle, cousin, someone who you trust their opinion, so that when these flags, like, I feel like when it's in your head, it can be a pink flag, like you said. But when you say it out loud, your intellect kind of kicks in. And when you say it to certain people, like, say that again?
It's like, are you embarrassed to say it? Because some people
exactly
use it, but then if it's
exactly,
well, actually, I don't really want to tell my friend about this, or I don't want to tell my aunt because they're going to say this, or they'll probably think that you're already like excusing that.
Exactly. So that really does help. I remember dating this guy for a couple of weeks, and he was like very okay. He was a Nigerian guy, but he was very, what's the word? He was very. I don't know what word to use. He was very middle class, very middle class British. So he always he used to talk like he just
like Dami.
He was posh. He was no. He was very posh. Let me use that word. He was very posh. And then I just felt like I always used to feel the need to to almost I don't know the word to use. But say that again.
Brush up.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, I just felt myself being fake around him. I was like, I'm not a fake person. Like, it's too much effort to be fake. And then I'd be like, okay, let me try and make sure I'm me. Let me just be more Nigerian. Let me do this. And then I just really struggled. And then one day I was like, listen, I called my friends. I called my friend. I'm like, guys, we're gonna have like a house party. I went to my friend's house, 4 of us, and I'm like, there's no way I cannot act myself in front of my friends. Like, they would just laugh at me. So I felt like the first time he saw me for me was when he was in my friend's house. So so just having, so that's like, it was a silly example, but it was like one that I was like, nah, I knew I wasn't being true to myself. So having those friends or people that you trust, like, they would help you with those red flags. They will help you be real to yourself. They'll help you analyze, and obviously pray, like, definitely praying. Like, but I feel like when you know something is wrong, prayer is harder. Because you're like, I'll pray later, because you don't want to hear the truth.
I'm even like, God, I know you're trying to tell me, but
So when do we actually include God in the situation then? Like, when it comes to relationships?
Well, for me, when it's too late, when I'm already upset, or like it's all said and done. That's when. But then,
don't you think that's strange? Like, when we wake up, we pray. When we're about to go to work, we pray. We pray about everything. But then when it comes to relationships, we're like, God, like, you can't come in here. Like, restricted access, limited access. Not today. Why is that? Like,
I feel like when I'm in a relationship or a situationship that I feel is not conducive, or it's not really going anywhere, like, my prayer is a certain way. Like, if this is not your will, then I pray that
Yeah.
It'll be done. But it's so like, I just say it's so just lackadaisical. Like, I don't know, just very, if it's not your will, then it won't be done. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want it to end. And I feel like
I
God,
want it to be your will. It must be
I want
your
it to
will.
be your will.
It has to be. It has to be.
God knows. Like, are you really saying that? Because I feel like I'm thinking something else. I'm like, God, if you really wanted to end, then end it. But you know,
it's
And
almost
you
like
know what? Yeah, sorry,
No,
Maya.
go ahead.
I was gonna say Yasmin made a good point. She said even when she gets the number, she asks the person straight away, like, what's your intention? Is it like mates or dates? So why is it not like we do the same with God? Like, God, is this mates or dates with God? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like personally I include him in all stages, but that's because I'm quite indecisive and I like to overanalyze everything, and I just haven't got time. I don't feel so unhappy being single that I'm prepared to part with anything. So, and I think as I've got older, I'm probably a bit more cutthroat when I'm shortlisting, or if people are propositioning themselves to me. There's something like,
shortlisting, you know.
I'm just like, okay, forget it. But if there's no one there at all, then I pray for clear vision to recognize him if God has placed him in my life, to identify him as someone that God has sent for me, that he doesn't pass me by or I don't overlook him. If he's present, we're speaking, dating, courting, whatever, I thank God for him, for bringing him into my life. If things are going bad, then I'll ask for clarification. Are you showing me like the time is done now? I've learned what I need to learn. He's learned what we need to learn. We need to part ways. Am I supposed to be persevering through this? Are you trying to teach me a lesson? Is this the one for me? Because I always feel now at a stage, I think when I was younger, I was more clinging on to relationships or trying to salvage things, whereas now I'm quite the opposite. So if things are going downhill, I'm like, okay, are you telling me it's now time to leave? Because we can nip this in the bud. So like, let's do this now before I get further involved, before I get more attached and it's more difficult and I start making stupid decisions. So
how do you know when to cut off a situationship? How do you know, like, oh, enough is enough?
If I feel like the last one, I would say it's because we'd had a conversation about where this is going. At the beginning, you confirmed you wanted to date, you're looking for a wife, you want to settle down, you were saying all the right things. And then after months and months, I'm like, so are we a couple or are we official or not? And when there's this dithering or there's these excuses or explanation otherwise, I'm thinking, okay, forget it, because I don't know how many times we need to have the same conversation. There's nothing more really to get to know about me. And it's not marriage. So there's a step before marriage, there's making things official, courting with the intention of getting married. But if you don't even want to take that first step, then what are we doing? So, I mean, personally, I don't like to involve sex. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we're both just keeping each other company right now, because I'm not going to I'm not to stereotype all males, but I'm sure you would like that, and that's never going to be a part of this package. So we might as well part ways. If you don't want what I want, I'm not going to give you what you want, so let's bounce.
That's true. I think the last one I was in, it was quite recent actually. We'd had a conversation and basically it had ended, but the person has said, because it was just before lockdown or during lockdown actually, and the person was like, okay, maybe it's just the wrong time. After lockdown, we'll see how this goes, blah blah blah. So in my mind, I was still waiting, and I was like, okay, maybe after lockdown. But then I spoke to them again, and then just different things like revelations. I asked, are you speaking to someone else, kind of thing? And they were like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
Sure enough.
That just gives me my answer, really, that we're not progressing the way we're supposed to. Actually, we're going backwards, because I wasn't talking to anyone else, if you are. So I think when there's like usually defining moments, especially when, like, even as Yasmin said, that it's not going anywhere, just talking on the phone, and not doing anything.
Wasting my credits.
Wasting my credit, exactly.
Minutes gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with both of you. I think I was gonna say something, I forgot what I was gonna say now. Ignore me, continue, sorry.
Take notes when someone's talking so you can throw in your line afterwards at the end.
It's trying to start writing notes.
So the question I was going to ask you, so if you're going from like situationship
Hold on, you haven't even answered this question yourself.
Yeah, all
Me?
these questions. Are you gonna answer? Yeah.
you know, it's me interviewing you guys.
I thought you were answering as well.
Not Ant Deck, it's me. I'm the interviewer. I'm interviewing you guys. How can you
Not Ant Deck.
Not Ant Deck.
What? You haven't answered the question. I'm trying to get your perspectives.
Your deck.
But yeah, so the next question, I was going to say, so if you're going from situationship to situationship, are you not carrying baggage from one relationship to the next? Because I feel a lot of guys do complain like, oh, this girl has a lot of baggage, has a lot of issues she has to deal with. So you're not just collecting loads of like rucksacks and suitcases from all these different relationships and then
Moving them all in.
yeah.